what are some of the gentlemen previously spoke about? What about the data? Is it secure with AI? Is it not secure? I'm sure all of us have heard about all that. We have seen all this in newspapers every day.
AI vision, AI strategy is obviously, every country talks about that. Then the next approach that many governments have taken is on AI guidelines. Not really the regulations, the guidelines which could be voluntary, which could be mandatory. Now, the classical example is Singapore. Now, Singapore has come out with the first global generative AI governance framework guideline. First global generative AI governance framework has been brought out by Singapore. Similarly, they have also come out with what they call it as AI Verified Foundation, and they have a software, a toolkit which companies can use to assess the ethical and responsible development and deployment. So that's and they come up with guidelines. The third approach that I see coming is, countries going in for specific topics linked to AI or sectors linked to AI. Example being AI and IPR. Now that's something that that many have actually gone ahead and announced. Japan has announced. Korea has come out with the IPR and linkages. And the fourth is obviously the full law. The fourth approach is the full law. That's the kind of ecosystem that is getting created. EU has already come out with the first AI Act per se. And some of the Asian countries, obviously India's stand is pretty clear that I am not going to rush for a AI Act per se, but I will create. Now, this is the overarching ecosystem that we are looking, and that's where the point that I'm trying to say is the reference for each. Anything that we want to do is now available. So we are not the ones who have to reinvent. We only probably need to localize. We only probably need to make it India specific, the way we always do in terms of innovating our own approach, looking at what. I think that's the way forward, and we'll be very interested to see how this unfolds as we go.
Thank you, Dr. Lavneesh. Love the idea and absolutely agree. I think it's not, when we anytime talk about the guidelines and regulation, it's not about really kind of, putting a constraint. Like when you drive a car, it's not to put really, the brakes are not to make you stop you, but to help you accelerate. And I think that's exactly what these guidelines and regulations also do for us. Rishi, may I invite you now to kind of, share your perspective on the topic.
Thank you. First of all, Rishi said, from Fractal, and as an organization, we focus to ensure that we empower every human decision in the enterprise, right? So that's the broad philosophy. Now, it itself means that human and AI need to go hand in hand, and what human is there for, or rather what AI is there for, is enabling the human decision, right? That's a core principle. Now, in today's day and age, we know the launch of GenAI is going to impact everything in a positive manner, whether it is cancer research to climate change, and from a business context, whether it is from net profit to net promoter score, right? So, this entire industry and the entire evolution, and specifically the launch of GenAI, I will like to see it's just an initial movement, right? And a lot of things will evolve and change. And I'll take an example of something which I said earlier in one of the SHL forums. Like when the first flight, right, when the Wright brothers, they launched the first flight, it was just for 12 seconds. So that was the duration of that flight. And the height was only 36, or rather the distance was only 36 meters. Now from there on, now we see how things have evolved, changed dramatically over past 124 years. So with the coming of GenAI, we are in the initial stages. Business will need to understand a lot about what will be the use cases, what are the costs associated to it. But what I can for sure say is that there are interesting times ahead. And I think in the questions that you'll ask, more will come on table. But that's my initial view on how we need to look at the industry. Very exciting start, but what to evolve and what to change.
Mr. Rishi. Srinavachari from Dell Technologies, may I have you now for your views?
Hey, sure. Thank you so much, Nishu. Lavneesh spoke about how regulations are key, for evolution of technology and how it needs to be done the right way. I'm going to add to it, but then I'm going to speak about how today organizations in their drive for business transformation need to adopt these emerging technologies and allow it to flourish as much as possible. There are two emerging technologies that we are talking about. Clearly, generative AI is one of them, and then we've got Edge. Each of them have got their own unique requirements and thought processes on how to make these technologies clearly adoptable within an organization to push through the transformation. Now, if I have to talk from a perspective of what is required, you want solutions which are purpose-built, which are able to deliver the outcomes that are desired. Tremendous amount of automation will come through that needs to be set up on how every system or every technology interacts with every other technology in the ecosystem or within the enterprise. That needs to come through. Security, like he mentioned, is one of the key parameters that cannot be ignored. I've got a friend who always says there are two kinds of people in this organization, in this environment, or in this world. One who know they've been attacked, and the others who don't know they've been attacked. It's like that. Attack is inevitable. They are getting a lot more concerted. How do we go prevent while leveraging newer technologies to make sure that we do not go off rails? And then, of course, we have to think about our environment. How do we go ahead and give it back, make it, AI as a technology is a super power consuming solution. A typical accelerator consumes 800 watts per hour. And are something that we keep in mind and yet not compromise on the performance. These are some of the things that organizations have to keep in mind, and these are the areas that we would like to focus when we are talking about adoption of this technology.
Thank you so much. I think it's lovely to hear that, have the super power in-house, but then with responsibility. So, absolutely agree with it. Mr. Anuj Kapoor, may I now ask you to present your views?
Yeah, thanks, Nishu. So my name is Anuj. Divide this into three parts, right? So you're talking about business AI adoption, you're talking about the potential to improve industry competitiveness, and India's digital transformation that is there. So I think it's about India specifically. We heard in the earlier session about how AI is as good as the data that you can provide, or historic data that you can provide. And a lot of that historic data is assumed to be there in the West. It's supposed to be, and while we still have a lot of native digital being created here, a whole bunch of data that is available to us might still be in physical form. Okay, and as we say digitize that piece, you just do a scan and it's still an image, and it's still not data being taken out of it. And I think it's important to be able to create that data, for adoption. Okay. Of course, the competitiveness will go up as good the data is. So if you have, when we heard of garbage in, garbage out, something we kind of talked since the 80s, but if you don't put good data there, you don't use good data for training, you are not going to be able to get the right model that gives you that competitiveness. Okay, and then as India moves into digital transformation, I think there are segments of India that are already digitally evolved, or and there are segments of India that are still having to have a much better digital capabilities. Physical to digital and coexist with that, and I think creating that data for India, creating the ecosystem in India for data to reside in India, and I think data centers, co-location, having data residency, we've seen a lot of regulation come in that, will all play a big role, in our ability to do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nishu. So, great topic, great day. So, AI for business transformation, transforming India. So the crux of the matter is the AI part of it, which as Nishu and Mr. Anush said, the best data you have, the models will be better performing it. So when we speak of adoption of AI in an enterprise, see that AI adoption has to be simplified, right? So the simplicity aspect of adopting the technology, simplicity in terms of identifying the use cases where this technology can be used, right? And most importantly, the affordability part. So I represent Oracle Cloud, right, where we have been investing a lot of billions of dollars in research to make adoption of AI simpler, manage data in a simplified form. So today data will be residing anywhere, right? It could be residing in your enterprise systems, in your partner systems, like data could be coming from any third-party sources, right? So how you can manage this data? How managing of this data could be simplified? How the right skills, right? This is a very important topic since we are discussing AI adoption not only in enterprises but India as a nation. So in the past decade, we've been seeing digital adoption taking actually the primary lead, right? So how AI can be the lever to further drive digital adoption in the coming decade. So scaling also is an important part. So scaling, affordability, and simplicity in terms of using the technology and creating the right use cases where it delivers business outcomes. So looking forward to have discussions on these areas. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ranga. I am from Hewlett Packard Enterprise. To start off on a topic like AI, I have a very philosophical view of it. I think it's a unifying force. It's the only topic that my mother, my son, and me can talk together. So everyone is so interested to speak about artificial intelligence that that's becoming a unifying force. Having said that, it also brings into perspective multiple technologies to play together. Right? It's just not the ability of one single element to deliver an AI project. Like many of the speakers have told, we have to recognize that artificial intelligence as a technology, as a solution, is all pervasive. It's so big a technology. I mean, thank God we are in the generation where we can look at technology and implement or dabble with it at this point of time.
The questions that we have for our audience and I would like you to answer for them. So, Dr. Lavish, the first question goes out to you. So what policies and incentives does the government of India actually has offered to encourage AI research and development? And how is the government planning to really kind of, enable this ecosystem? And how they actually want to, what is your view on a differentiated approach to this ecosystem development for the enterprises or business?
Thank you for the question. On enablement of this R&D, AI is one area where the research and development is seen as a source of competitive power by nations, right? And that's where the importance of the IPR development, and the inequality currently, wherein I mentioned in the morning, 78% of the patents are with 3 countries. Now, is promotion of the fundamental research. That's something that we see. The second is the actual facilitation of knowledge exchange and creation. The third is the training and skill development of this new kind of researchers that we are actually talking about. Fourth, obviously, that each one of us proudly talks about is creating the startup ecosystem which will use this research. Fifth is and that will be probably the next in terms of developing a sectoral approach to R&D. And sixth is the whole issue of capacity building within companies as well as within government. Now, how are we doing it in India? There are a number of ways that we see. First, if you look at the India AI Expert Task Force report, fantastically driven, roadmap and covers everything holistically. It talks about one, setting up COE, Center of Excellence, that will actually be working on local. The element of the data that we are talking about, it contains both recommendations, that creation of local data sets for training, and second, creating an India data management office itself, which will actually set the guidelines for data and data management. And then it also talks about the need to actually promote research in the enabling chip ecosystem, the hardware ecosystem, and obviously it talks about the skilling and whatnot. Now, having said so, to me, India's expert group report, and it's something that all of us should actually go through, is one of the most comprehensive coverage to different elements that we have been talking about now, and there are specific recommendations of each working group that you will see, and each recommendation in itself is a task in itself. Now, having said so, I think more important is, as I mentioned again in the morning, how do you ensure that the research aligns with the sectoral requirement? Again, let me give you an example of Germany. When we talk of autonomous cars, 2021, 3 years back was when Germany came out with their regulation on autonomous cars. When there were very few autonomous cars, and they wanted to, obviously they were promoting research that they thought about in terms of ensuring that the development piece actually goes into the right direction. They mentioned that the autonomous cars will actually operate only in designated areas which are feasible. It's not that on every second it should be connected to a radio, to a technically supervised, maybe with a human intervention, wherein it can be disabled in terms of function. So that level of thinking is something that also needs in terms of a research in the policy domain also, in addition to the technical research and the business model research that I talked about. And the final point is, most of our research currently is focused on AI development. So